In this video, we're talking about 5 reasons why you're losing games in Clash Royale, and we're going to talk about how to fix them so you can start winning more matches. What's going on, guys? It's your boy Mars back with another Clash Royale video, and today's video is all about how to win more games in Clash Royale. I've got some ladder gameplay over here on the side where I'm pushing to 7,600 trophies, but let's get right into the 5 reasons why we all lose games in Clash Royale sometimes. And the first one is that you're not thinking enough about your opponent's cards. In Clash Royale, you should always be trying to figure out what your opponent's deck is as soon as the game starts. You really should try to figure out what are all 8 of the cards in their deck, and at all times try to know what are the 4 cards in their hand. This is going to come with experience, but as you play Clash Royale more, you'll start to notice that certain cards always seem to be played with other cards. So if they have a fisherman, then maybe that makes it very likely that they're going to have a royal giant. If they have zappies and recruits, then they're probably going to have royal hogs. If they have an ice golem, skeletons, and a musketeer, then they're probably going to have a hog rider, and so on. The more you know what cards your opponent has in their deck and what cards they have in their hand, you're going to be more prepared to defend what they have, and you're going to be more prepared to go in on offense at the right times when you know that they don't have the right defenses in cycle. Even if you've been playing your main deck for years at this point, you can't just play the same style in every game you play. You have to change up your play style based on what they have and focus on how to get damage in the right ways. In some matchups, it'll be pretty easy for you to just go in for your win condition and get easy damage, and in some other games, you're going to have to use other cards in your deck to get more damage, and sometimes it'll have to be your spells. All right, reason number 2 that we all lose games sometimes is that we sometimes don't think about how much elixir our opponent has. You guys know, we've all had those moments in Clash Royale where they drop like a Mega Knight at the bridge, or they drop an E-Giant or something, and we're like, how in the world do they have that much elixir? A lot of times this can happen because we overcommit on offense, thinking that we can recoup the elixir fast enough, but then they're able to defend our push pretty cheaply and go in for a huge push in the opposite lane when we overcommitted. You have to try to focus on not overcommitting too much elixir on offense and on defense. For example, if they go in for a goblin barrel and you have to fireball it, then that means you lost 1 elixir right there. So going forward, you have to be a little bit careful and try to focus on positive elixir trades.
Positive elixir trade!
And if I were you, I would honestly start to practice as soon as the game starts. You want to think about how much elixir your opponent has. So, you know, if they drop a musketeer in the back to start the game, then you know they're at 6 and it keeps counting up from there. In the next game that you play, try to keep track of their elixir as long as you can. If you can at least keep track of their elixir until double elixir starts, then that's honestly pretty good. Once it gets to double elixir and triple elixir, it gets very difficult to know exactly how much they have because it counts up so fast. But in single elixir, if you can keep track of your opponent's elixir amount, then you're gonna know when are good times to go in on offense and when they are gonna go in on offense against you. So yeah, definitely try to focus more on your opponent's elixir. All right, guys, the third reason why all of us lose games sometimes, and we all do this, is that we get way too tilted and triggered and angry at Clash Royale. I was literally doing this yesterday when I was playing the game, and it was because I played against the evolved firecracker 5 games in a row, and even though I was actually able to win 2 of those games, I was still so annoyed at going against the evolved firecracker over and over again. But guys, we all need to learn this lesson in Clash Royale, and that is that there's always going to be some cards in the game that are just a little bit broken and a little bit too good and overpowered, and we just have to start to expect them and know that they're just going to be a part of the game, and we have to figure out how to deal with them. For example, with the evolved firecracker, it can be useful to have a deck that has arrows and fireball in it, because then you can have your arrows usually for the regular firecrackers and you can fireball the evolved one. So yeah, you have to expect those broken and overpowered cards. You have to expect that you're going to go against them a decent amount and be ready for them. Another way to avoid getting tilted in Clash Royale Royale is to pretty much never play more than 10 games in a row. If you can help it, I would maybe even say never play more than 5 games in a row, unless you're like doing a live stream or something for Clash Royale. Then I don't think there's really ever a reason why you should play more than 5 games in a row. 10 should be the absolute upper limit, but as long as you keep it only to a few games at a time, then you're probably not going to get tilted as much. And the last thing, guys, is that if you are tilted, we all have to recognize when we're angry at Clash Royale. We all know that we are, but then it's so tempting to play that next game. But we all have to get better at just, if we're tilted and we're making mistakes and we've lost like 4 games in a row, then we got to just turn the game off and move on to something else. All right, the 4th reason that we all lose games sometimes is that we're playing the game at the wrong time. We've all played Clash Royale too late at night when we should just be going to sleep anyway. And guys, playing Clash Royale late into the night never really goes well. Playing Clash Royale when you're especially hungry or tired also never really goes well. And playing Clash Royale in like a bumpy car ride or in a spot where you know you're gonna have sketchy internet connection also never really goes well. If you're at school or at work and you know that you could easily get distracted or like somebody could come over and see you playing, then that's also not a good time to be playing. Basically, if you want to win as many games as you can in Clash Royale, it pretty much should be the only thing that you're focusing on for those 3 or 4 minutes. So we all have to get better at just making sure that if we're going to play a game of Clash Royale, we got to make sure that there's not going to really be many distractions around and that that is the one thing that we can focus on for a few minutes. All right, guys, the 5th and final reason that you're losing games in Clash Royale is that you're just getting countered by the meta. Every few months, Supercell nerfs some cards and buffs some other cards, making them weaker and stronger. And therefore, your main deck won't always be as good or as bad in the meta as it currently is. For example, my main deck, Royal Hogs, Royal Recruits, sometimes when log bait is really strong in the meta, then my deck is very good in the meta because it hard counters log bait pretty much. But with this new meta, with the RG evolution and the Firecracker evolution and the Mortar evolution, my main deck got a lot weaker, and it was really, really frustrating for a week or two until I found an adjustment to be able to make. Thankfully, I ended up throwing in the Inferno Dragon for the Barb Barrel in my main deck, and it definitely helped me compete with the current meta much better. But just know this, guys, even if you've been playing a deck for years and it's been good for a while, Supercell could always make balance changes that make your deck a little bit weaker in the meta, and then it's just going to be really frustrating if you're just getting countered in most of the games that you play. So I would recommend, even if you're trying to max out like one deck, I would kind of start upgrading a second deck on the side that has a bunch of different cards in it. It's always good to have a backup deck or even a couple backup decks if you can, and stay on the lookout for the best new decks in the meta. You can always check the top leaderboards in Clash Royale. All of us Clash Royale YouTubers are usually making videos about new fun decks that are pretty strong in the current meta. So yeah, guys, those are just a few ways to make sure that you're not just getting hard countered even if you're playing well, because sometimes you can lose games in Clash Royale even if you play really, really well. But there we go, guys. Those are my 5 reasons why we all lose some games in Clash Royale. And honestly, if you can just try to fix some of those 5 reasons, you're gonna start winning a lot more games, even if you just play at the same skill level. But if you made it this far in the video, make sure to give me a like and a comment, guys. It only takes a few seconds, but it helps my channel out tremendously, and I really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much for watching today's Clash Royale video, and I'll see you guys next Thursday with another Clash Royale video.